Hello all and welcome to a brand new Parry's Pickups. Thanks very much for joining us today. So first up we're going to talk about a game which I've been harping on about for weeks, and it's Puzzle League DS. So I've actually had this a little while now. It is, as I've said in one of the previous videos, possibly the best version of Puzzle League you can get. Now Puzzle League's otherwise known as Tetris Attack. I've covered the Super Nintendo version before now. Also mentioned this game's available on N64 as Pokemon Puzzle League, and there's various Game Boy versions of it as well. This has lots of game modes in it, over 15 different single player games, with multiplayer as well, with single cart play. So you really just can't go wrong with this version of Puzzle League. It's lacking it's got a very different sort of presentation, shall I say. So it's lacking the niceties of, say, Pokemon Puzzle League, full of all the fun characters, and also Yoshi's, I say Yoshi's, it's just known as Tetris Attack, but it's got that lovely Yoshi aesthetic to it. This one doesn't feature characters in it as such, but it does feature a very modern presentation with a very techno soundtrack. So, while it's the most fully featured version of the game you can possibly buy, perfect to play on the go, it lacks maybe the more familiar presentation of a Puzzle League or Tetris Attack game. It doesn't feature fun, cute characters like some of the other versions do. So I think maybe this was going to be aimed at a more adult audience, perhaps. Of course, the DS had a huge following with games like Brain Training and similar games. So Puzzle League DS is a fantastic game, and if you like puzzle games you should get it if you haven't already. Next up, we've got games all over the shop today, actually. So we're just going to reach up here and pull down Skate 3. Okay, so Skate 3 is obviously the third in the Skate series, first of all, but I've actually got a little bit of history with this game. I first played it back on the PS3, thought it was okay, but when I was culling my games collection a while ago, a long time ago now, I sometimes refer to, Skate 3 was one of those games I let go of. Now I wanted it back. Basically I didn't have a Skate game on the 360. I've got Skate 2 on the PS3. I really wanted to get Skate 3, especially after playing Skate 2 again fairly recently and realising how fun these games actually are. So unlike Tony Hawk's, you do your tricks with your right analog stick. You pull back to set up the trick and push forward to release the trick, basically. And you start this game by creating your own player, and you do a training which is fun and fairly easy to get to grips with, I'd say. I forget the actor's name, but the guy who plays Earl in My Name's Earl, he's the one giving you your skateboard training, and that's really fun. I think he is actually a skateboarder, actor come skateboarder, so it's quite suitable. So yeah, you do the little training bit. You can just jump into messing around, but training gives you a better grasp of game mechanics if you've never played a skate game before, especially. And then you go through the sort of challenges, trying to make your name as a skater. So you meet a cameraman, you're doing tricks and trying to gain some sort of notoriety. Of course, the mechanisms behind Skate work really well, and it's a great alternative to the more arcade style Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. It's got nice graphics. For some reason I think Skate 2's graphics look a little bit more natural than the ones here. I don't know why that is. Maybe because I'm playing with a created play here and they never tend to look quite as nice as the standard player models. But yeah, Skate 3 is a lot of fun and I would recommend it. In fact, I think you might be lucky enough to grab it while it's still on sale on the Xbox One and I assume Xbox 360 as well. This game is Xbox One compatible. In fact, the footage you see has been captured through an Xbox One. One strange thing that happened to me between challenges in this game was an immensely long load time. Just one particular challenge just took forever to load. Now I don't know if it's anything to do with some sort of dodgy backwards compatibility, but the game did get there in the end. Or maybe this game just has reasonably long load times. But yeah, that's Skate 3. I do recommend it, despite the fact I gave up on this game a long time ago, and yeah, I'm very happy to have it back in the collection. So the rest of the games are actually just in front of me, so I'm going to lean in and grab them here so you get a nice view of my beard there. We're going to start with Rad Rogers. Rad Rogers is a new-ish platform game in the style of, well, classic computer platformers, namely Amiga, I would say. It definitely reminds me of some of those old Amiga games. So they've really tried to capture the essence of that type of platformer. Also, you may see it's a 16 rated game. You can choose to play this game one of two different ways. Child friendly or not child friendly. Not child friendly is there's some swearing in there. This character is called Dusty. He's a games console and he rides on your back, basically gets sucked into a game world, as typical of all these storylines from the 80s. And the platforming is a sort of run and gun shooter. I say run and gun, your weapon is a gun, but there's not a heck of a lot of emphasis on shooting things. You have to collect 4 pieces of a puzzle in a level. So there's a little bit of travelling around and venturing around the platform levels. It's not straightforward from left to right. There's something about it feels a little bit off and not incredibly satisfying, yet all the elements are there. It's got lovely design, first and foremost. Some of the enemies may be a bit repetitive. It does stick to its roots, but maybe a little bit too closely. It looks very modern and nice, but its gameplay sort of feels a bit stiff and rigid. Not bad by any means, but when you see a game that's obviously so lovingly crafted as this one, with beautiful cartoonish type graphics, you expect the actual platform to have a little bit more bounce in it. It doesn't. It's quite rigid. It would surprise me when I first played it. There's quite a few unique mechanics going in. Occasionally Dusty will have to travel into the digital realm in order to push a few buttons in order to let Rad do something in the main level. So basically in those areas Dusty sort of floats around and he has to get past little obstacles in order to get to a thing where you have to press a button, and then that way let Rad have access to a platform, for example. I'd say on the whole it's a pretty good game. I didn't pay a lot for this. It was £10 off the game. I think the game.co.uk. It was in the sale. I got it along with one other game which I'm going to talk about in a moment. But I think it'd be far worse to pick this up if you're a fan of platforms. It did keep me playing for a while. The actual aesthetic looks a lot like the recent Genesis game. It just doesn't. The platform is a bit stiff and rigid as when compared to that, and I say there's a little bit of a lack of variety in a lot of the enemy design. I'd say at least in these first few levels I've played. It's satisfying, but I feel it should be more satisfying than it is. Also, you could argue that some of Dusty's comments get a little bit grating after a while as he plays up to all the gaming cliches, so I'm making fun of them. For example, he talks about the bleeping noise that you often hear in these sort of games when you're running low on health. So yeah, he says these one-liners maybe a little bit too much at times, but they're okay. But after you've heard them so many times, maybe not. What else can I say? It's quite difficult. It's difficult in the same way older platform games were difficult. Not in a bad way, but don't expect a walk in the park even in the early stages of Rad Rogers. So that's Rad Rogers. And finally we come to a game which I wasn't sure I'd ever end up owning because it's one of them big adventure type games, but I'd heard so many good things about this game I felt I had to check it out. It is The Witcher. This is the Game of the Year edition, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, including the expansion packs Hearts of Stone, Blood and Wine, and 16 download contents. What they are exactly, I'm not sure. Now I've chosen to play the game with all the expansion content available, so if I reach a certain point in the game I can jump straight into that expansion. You can choose to play them separately from the main game if you want to. It's a beautiful looking game, it's a very story driven game, character interaction is at the forefront of this experience of talking to characters with multiple choice options. But the lead character of Geralt is incredibly likeable. He's got a very cool voice. Not the same as Solid Snake, but it has the same sort of quality as Snake. So he's charming and gruff, and yeah, he's the kind of character you want as a lead in a game like this. The Witchers are sort of half human, half demon characters from what I can make out. You know, I haven't read the books. This is based on a series of books. There's been games prior to this, of course. There's been Witcher 3, so the lore I'm not 100% up on, but from what I can tell so far and what I've heard from the storyline, is these guys are shunned by society. They were sort of created and forced to kill monsters because they are half monster themselves. So the game starts off and you're looking for your lover, basically, who's gone missing. So you're travelling with another Witcher. I forget their name. I'm sorry, all the Witcher fans are going to be up in arms about this, but so I'm still quite new to the series. And yeah, you're basically, the point I'm at, you're trying to track it down. As you do this, you're trying to get information from other people who give you certain tasks to do. Yeah, and it kind of unfolds in a very organic, natural way. You get introduced to different characters in a tavern. You get the idea that everybody likes witches, basically. And you get to play a card game called Gwent, which is really good. Very straightforward, actually. Reasonably straightforward for a card game. You expect these things to be incredibly difficult, but it's quite accessible and enjoyable. And I'm determined to get better at it because it's a game you've got to learn a bit, but as I say, it's quite accessible. So that's a nice little feature, the Gwent side of things. The combat's good, although I did find myself when I came back to it a second time forgetting everything about the combat and not being able to hold my own in a fight, because some of the enemies you encounter are rather difficult if you're not prepared. Also, yeah, it's a game that sometimes doesn't feel incredibly user-friendly. I remember I'd taken on a mission from a character and I ran off to do said mission and I just ran off a high bridge by accident. So yeah, it's quite punishing if you are to say fall off a high area. So you know, it doesn't really hold your hand, I'm trying to say. It throws you in at the deep end. I'm playing on normal difficulty at the moment. But yeah, it's a likeable character, fun side quests, nicely, the story's unfolding very nicely, the graphics pleasant. Basically, I'm quite taken with The Witcher. I feel like it's quite a relaxing game to play. So far, it hasn't felt particularly intense because you can kind of take it at your own pace. It is like watching a comfortable TV series. Where you kind of feel cosy and really whisked off to another world, and it's great to be in the world of The Witcher. It's that well realised. So yeah, in short, I like it. Not my usual type of game, but I can see myself spending a lot of time here, which inevitably is what I'm going to have to do to get through all the content that is in this Game of the Year edition. So that's it for this episode of Parry's Pickups. That was The Witcher. We've also talked about Rad Rogers. We've also talked about Puzzle League DS, and rounding it off as I kick the camera, it's Skate 3. So, four really great games. I'd say I love puzzle games, so this is timeless classic. The Witcher seems like an amazing game. The others are great. I think Rad Rogers, maybe it's pretty good if you like old school platformers, but it's maybe one you can afford to miss. Skate 3 is really good. I think there's a Skate 4 coming in the future. Great series. Do recommend playing at least one of those. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and until next time, game on.